Hello everyone, today I will be cutting, heat embossing, and making my own pattern for the You Are My Anchor care package. I'm starting off with cutting some anchors with my Silhouette Cameo. If you're using foil cardstock, you want to get a quality cardstock that's nice and thick and won't easily scratch or wrinkle. Just peeling it off right now, making sure not to cut or damage the paper. I'll set that aside for now. For the top flap, I'm making a navy carrier ship on water out of cardstock. I've marked where I need to cut with my pencil, and then I'm going to cut it with my paper trimmer. For items that have straight lines, I prefer using a paper trimmer. However, if your items have curves or really intricate detail, you could use scissors to fussy cut, or you can use an electronic die cutting machine like I did with the anchors. Once you have all your pieces, you can now adhere them all together. I love using my stamp runner to adhere things just because it dries quickly and it's less mess for me. Okay, so I'm putting my blue cardstock that is supposed to be my ocean on first, and then placing my navy carrier ship on top. If you have any leftover pencil marks, now is the time to erase them. The great thing about the adhesive that I'm using is that it has a strong hold, but it's also a little forgiving. As you can see, when I placed my carrier ship on the first try, it was a little crooked. It didn't look crooked from my vantage point, but obviously here it is. Yeah, not the way I wanted. So I simply just peeled it off and I can re-stick it into place without too much damage, and it doesn't get my fingers all sticky. Perfect. Next, I will be creating my own pattern for the two side care package flaps. I went to my local craft stores and they didn't have the bright, bold, nautical colored stripes that I was looking for, so I decided to create my own. What I did was that I measured out the size of the stripes and then cut out pieces of paper accordingly. For this piece, you can place white stripes on a piece of blue cardstock or blue pieces on a piece of white cardstock. In retrospect, it's definitely easier to put a dark colored cardstock over light colored cardstock, because if you do the other way, you might see through the layers. And if it doesn't come out perfect, you can just trim it off to make it as straight as possible. I'm going to set these pieces aside and then move on to the heat embossing of this care package. I'm using an alphabet stamp from Michaels. It has all capital letters and the letters are pretty big. They're about 2 inches or so, and you don't see many clear stamps out there that have large fonts like these. I've gotten the first part of my sentiment all heat embossed, and I'm just finishing up the last word. I stamped each letter in Versamark ink and then used some gold embossing powder on top. I really wanted some shininess in this care package, which is why I'm using gold cardstock and gold heat embossing. I mean, what's a US Navy color scheme without gold, right? I just think the color scheme is just phenomenal, and the extra shine just really makes it pop. Now I will go back and attach my anchor that I cut out from before. I'll use the other anchor for another project or card or something. If you haven't already guessed by now, my husband is in the Navy. But that actually was the inspiration for this care package. I think it was someone's purse or wallet or something, if I remember correctly. How funny is that? Oh, this bottom care package flap is so shiny and cute, I can't stand it. And it matches that person's purse. We'll go back to the top care package flap now, because I just want to personalize this project some more. I'm using a small alphabet stamp set from Michaels, and I'm using my stamp press to put the name of the ship on. I'm just stamping with some Versamark ink and then placing my stamp on the care package flap. I've really got to get a second set of this alphabet because I have to go back and pick out some letters that I have to use again, and I have to do that kind of quickly so this ink doesn't dry out. I should have used my powder tool to brush off some excess oil before I stamped all of this, but oh well. I'm just using my small acrylic stamp to put those letters on. Alright, next I'm using some black embossing powder from Ranger, I believe, and this is one of the better black embossing powders. It's really opaque. I'll just put that on there and then brush off any excess. I'm now going to go turn on my heat gun, and while that's heating up, I'm just going to clean up my workspace a little bit. I'm just pouring the black embossing powder back into the container, If you guys could see the outside of this workspace, you could see that it is a hot mess. Oh, and before the OPSEC police come after me, this is not my husband's ship. I'm just using it purely for demonstrative purposes, so cool your jets. It's all good. For the final elements, I wanted to add a real cool like 3D element to this piece. So I'm going to attach the gold anchor from the bottom flap to the ship on the top flap. I'm just using some twine that I think was from Michael's too, or another local craft store. And I'm just stringing it through the anchor on the bottom flap, tying a bow on that, and then I'll use my hot glue gun to just glue that bow into place and make sure it doesn't move at all. And then I'll do the same for the top flap and attach that up there as well with my glue gun. If you're going to use a rope or twine like this, just make sure you have enough slack so when the recipient opens it, he won't pull it apart. And also make sure that the two flaps that you are conjoining go on the inside first, and then you can put the side flaps on top. In other words, the two care package flaps that you are attaching together, they should be the first care package flaps that you put together when you close the care package, and when the recipient gets it, it should be the last two care package flaps when he opens it. I hope that makes sense. Let's take a look at this all put together. As you can see here, I've attached pictures to the side flaps. I also hot glue gunned the rope down to the side flap too. I think it was just too thin of a rope that I used, so I stuck it to the side to make it stand out a little more. That part is completely up to you though, whether you want it hanging or attached. Alright, it was a fun care package to make. Thanks guys!